Controversial regulation for school districts enacted in Tom Wolf's last days as governor is now generating lawsuits. As
KDKA's John Delano reports, it's all about training teachers to be culturally aware.
Last November, under Governor Wolf, the state's education department issued a new regulation to train public school teachers on something called culturally relevant and sustaining education, or CRSE. But critics say
this is an example of bureaucrats overstepping their bounds, and they're putting regulations on educators in which they're basically forcing the teaching of critical race theory.
State Representative Aaron Bernstein, who says some educators have swapped out names for critical race theory, supports passage of Senate Bill 853 to repeal the regulation. In the meantime, some school districts, including Mars Area and Laurel, have sued to halt CRSE. The guidelines for CRSE address 9 teacher competencies, like encouraging educators to reflect on their cultural lens, to address bias in their school system, establish high expectations for students, and educate themselves about microaggressions and their impact.
Culturally relevant and sustaining education is really all about making sure that all of our teachers are equipped to be welcoming and inclusive of all of the different types of students they're going to interact with on a day-to-day basis.
Eric Haggerty, Wolf's former education secretary, says CRSE has nothing to do with curriculum. It's all about training teachers.
In my view, CRSE is indoctrination over education. In my view, CRSE does not encourage students how to think, but tell students what to think.
But Laurel Superintendent Leonard Rich says CSRE assumes all educators and school districts are inherently biased, racist, or culturally unaware, and seeks to impose one view of history and social issues instead of critical thinking open to all views.
What we're doing at the secondary level and also at the post-secondary level is we are indoctrinating thought, that there is only one side to the issue when it comes to any of the social crises that the public is facing.
Haggerty says there was no controversy drafting these regs and regrets the controversy over the wording of some of the CRSE guidelines.
Education is becoming a politically polarized field these days.
Haggerty agrees with the Shapiro administration's view that these guidelines are not binding, with a spokesperson telling KDKA, quote, "The guidelines issued by the PDE are not required to be followed by school districts. They are simply guidelines. School districts are free to implement CRSE as they see best." Shaler Area School Superintendent Dr. Sean Aiken says the key is to be welcoming to all and make nobody feel guilty or less valuable than another.
It's our goal. It's not to divide. It's not to make one person feel a level of guilt or shame or anything like that. It really is about creating an environment where all students feel accepted.
Absent some legislative or court action, these CRSE regulations are scheduled to take effect in the 2024-25 school year, giving school districts plenty of time this year to figure it all out. I'm John Delano, KDKA-TV News.